Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor, Georgia's first licensed astrologer with Astrology 201. And in these series of classes, what I'm going to do is show you how to forecast your own birth chart. Now, when I did Astrology 101, which by the way now is available on YouTube, I offered to send you your birth chart free of charge. If you would like, when I'm finished with the show, please go to my website, MaxineTaylor.com, and I will send you your own personal printout of the transits, and I'll explain what that is. So let me go through the houses of the zodiac just as a quick review. Again, if you haven't seen the first series of shows, Astrology 101, they're on YouTube. So as we look at our zodiac, just a blank zodiac, this is the first house of the zodiac, and the zodiac houses deal with those areas of life that are important to us. The first one is your body, your personality, and your appearance. This is the most personal point in the chart. We love it. The second house deals with money and possessions. We love that too, don't we? And our values. The third house deals with communication, our brothers and sisters, our conscious mind, and short trips. The fourth house deals with our home and family. This is one of the very important homes in our chart. It is the mother figure traditionally, and it deals with home, family, real estate, and everything that provides emotional security to us. The fifth house, that's the house of fun and games. It's the house of speculation and of children. Now you might say, well, sometimes my kids are not that much fun and games. I understand it. But with fifth house activity, you can have fun and games. Unlike the sixth house. In the sixth house, we're talking about work, health, and service. And people who have planets in their sixth house want to be busy at all times. They want to serve. They want to be needed. Seventh house deals with partnerships of all type, whether they're personal or business. They deal with all of our relationships, and if you deal with the public, you're dealing with other people. And so that seventh house deals with other people, whether they're significant or just as a group. Now the eighth house, very, very powerful house. This is the house of secrets and transformation. It deals mundanely with other people's money. It is traditionally called the house of sex, death, and goods of the dead. I'm going to have to write a book on that because the title is such a grabber. But it really deals with transformation. It doesn't mean physical death. It means the end of one situation and the beginning of another. It's a really cool house. Okay, ninth house, we deal with principles, our philosophy of life, and long-distance travel, unlike short-distance travel. Very interesting, don't you think? This is our higher mind. And if the fourth house is our home and family and real estate, the 10th house is our career. It's our public image. It's what the world sees of us. And traditionally, it is our father figure. Now, in everybody's birth chart, this can change. In my own personal birth chart, the 10th house is my mother and the 4th house is my father. How do we know this? We start reading the chart. And when you go to an astrologer, they'll be able to tell you, oh, the 4th house is mommy or the 4th house is daddy, because they'll be able to see it. But if you are a career person, you probably have planets in that 10th house. Okay? 11th house, I love it. This deals with friends, group activities, our hopes and wishes. And if you have anything in your 11th house, you are a humanitarian. You deal with the world. You look at the world as a humanitarian. Now, the way you can tell this is most people say me first. 11th house people say what's best for the whole is best for the individuals within the whole. So it's a very powerful house, a beautiful humanitarian house. 12th house, behind the scenes activities. It rules the spirit world. It rules the subconscious. Many years ago, I was CNN's on-air astrologer, and I gave political predictions. And I looked at the United States horoscope, because a country can have its own chart. A business has its own chart. And what I saw, and what I see very often, surprise, is 12th house activity. Not just now, but going back since time began, which means that we're not always told what's going on behind the scenes. Now, why am I reviewing this with you? Because what we're going to talk about now are the planets, which we've described in Astrology 101, as they go around the zodiac, as they trigger your own personal birth chart. And they're very, very interesting. Now, I'm going to start with, for those of you who study astrology, with the Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Venus, okay? And again, if you would like to know where those planets are in your chart right now, you send me your birth data, the month, day, and year you were born, the city, and the exact moment you were born, and I will email you a printout of your birth chart with the current transit so that you can follow. All right, first of all, what we do is we take the planets as they're going round and round the zodiac, and we see what house they are in and what planets they trigger. So if I'll just start with the first house. Now, you know, the sun moves through all 12 signs of the zodiac in a year. And so we're going to feel it in all the houses of our chart. Now, the sun moves about a degree a day. It moves quickly, but the sun is the giver of life. The sun rules what is just the center of our lives. And so wherever the sun is at a given moment, not in your birth chart, but outside it, these are called the transits, that is the area of life that comes alive, which becomes the center of your world. So when you have the sun in your first house by transit, transit is again, the planets moving around. The center of your life is you. It's your personality. You shine. You come alive. You are absolutely on top of things. You feel great. You look great. You're empowered. And you're able to put yourself first without being selfish. It just shines a light on you. Your health improves. It's just a terrific placement for it. Okay, as the sun then moves into your second house of money, and I hear some of you saying, yes, is that the time I'm supposed to buy a lottery ticket? Well, it wouldn't hurt. The center of your life becomes your money and your possessions, and it lights up. It really, really does. You can create more money during that time. Okay, don't have a whole lot of room here, but there's the sun in your third house. And so you start talking. Your mind is alive. You want to travel. You feel terrific about your ideas. And if you are innately a talker, you have to share your ideas. Yes, you may turn into a motor mouth, but you see things clearly because the sun lights up wherever it touches, whatever it touches in your chart. Okay, the sun in the fourth house. The center of your life then becomes your home and family. This happens once a year because remember, the sun moves through each of the houses during the entire year. And I'll be talking about the moon and Mercury and Venus in just a minute, and you'll see that they do the same thing, except they move even faster than the sun. So, when the sun is in your fourth house, it's a great time to clean up the house. It's a great time to spend time with your family. If you're thinking of buying a home, this is a great time for real estate. This is the time to focus on all domestic issues. Visit family members, have them visit you. Or, plain and simple, you just want to spend time at home. If you're with friends, you will say, got to end it early. You just want to be at home. There's nothing negative or pulling. That's just where you want to be. Okay. When the sun is in the fifth house, it is even more powerful there because that's the house it rules in the natural zodiac. And with the sun in your fifth house, you're going to want to party. You may want to throw parties. You may want to just get out there and be with friends. Now, if you have children, they are going to want more of your attention, aren't they? Center of your life then becomes your children. And your children will say, yes, I'm the center of your life. They don't put it in so many words, but they absolutely insist on being the center of your life. And it's time to have fun. And your concept of fun, maybe going to a movie, maybe a ball game, maybe playing sports. Sports are fun. Anything you consider fun. It can include eating, okay? So, hold that thought. The sun in the 6th house. Your work becomes important to you. Your health becomes important. If you've had an illness, if you've had a problem, a physical problem, it's going to probably improve with the sun, which is the giver of life, when the sun is in your 6th house of work, health, and service. Don't you love that? Now, you might say, I haven't worked in a long time. Well, when the sun is in your 6th house, you may find that you're able to locate that special job, and you are involved in projects. This is you being a project leader, because the sun is the leader. It's the center of our universe, and so wherever the sun is, that's where you want to be the lead. The sun in the 7th house. Other people then become the center of your life. You want to get out there and be with them. If you're married, you'll find that your spouse wants more of your attention. If you're in the limelight, what you'll find is that the public wants more of you, and you may want more of them. So get out there and be with people when the sun is in your 7th house. Makes sense, doesn't it? Now, any relationship is triggered with the sun in the 7th house. The 7th house is also the house of litigation. So if you're involved in litigation, when the sun is in your 7th house, this is a great time for it to work well for you. Now, this is a lot. I'm going to be sharing a lot with you over these next few weeks, so you may want to consult an astrologer to get the whole picture. But with what I'm telling you here, if you are involved in litigation, if the sun is in your 7th house, it is shining brightly on the litigation for you. Now, the sun in the 8th house, very interesting. This is the house of other people's money, and so you can help other people get money. You can spend time with other people's possessions. You can help them get clear on their values. The sun is our ego, and when it moves through the 8th house, we find that we look beneath the surface at what is really going on, and we rethink our ego, our own ego. With the sun in the 7th house of secrets, if you're trying to find out what's going on in a certain situation, the sun will help you do it. Now, it moves into the 9th house. Remember, it's only in the 8th house, depending on where you were born, which determines the size of your 8th house, approximately a month, maybe less, okay? When the sun is in your 9th house, you are taking a stand for your beliefs. You're able to see the big picture. It's a terrific time to travel if Mercury is not retrograde, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So remember that we're talking about long distance travel. The sun in your 10th house, awesome. What it means is your career is all lit up. And we're going to finish with the rest of these houses in the second part of our show. So be looking at your own chart, and I'll be back in just a minute to get the rest of the planetary transits. See you then. Hey everybody, we're back. Let's finish up with the sun and then get the rest of the fast-moving planets. Okay, the sun in the 11th house shines its light on your friends, on your group activities. Have a wonderful time being a friend. And the sun in the 12th house, you want to be alone. You want your solitude and privacy. And so tell everybody you know, I just need to be by myself. This will help you meditate. It helps you on the spiritual level. It's quite beautiful. Now, following the sun's path, we have two other planets that are really wonderful. They travel with the sun. The first one is Mercury. Mercury rules communication, correspondence, and transportation. It rules our mouth and our minds. And it moves about 1.5 degrees a day, so it moves faster than the sun, except when it's retrograde, and that's when it appears to be moving backwards. This happens about 3 times a year, and that's why the sun and Mercury really do travel together. With Mercury in your first house, you're going to talk about yourself. You're going to think about yourself. Do it. With Mercury in your second house, You've got great money-making ideas, and this is the time to be putting them into operation, to be talking about them, and they may involve communication. In your third house, Mercury is very strong in the third house because that's what it naturally rules in the natural zodiac. You've got terrific ideas. You're bored easily. You've got to be on the move. Lots of nervous energy. This is a great time to write that book you've been thinking about. Okay, Mercury in your fourth house. You think about your home and family. You're thinking about real estate. You may be, again, fourth house matters, buying a house or renovating a house or just wanting to stay home. Now, Mercury is a very neutral planet. There's not any emotion involved with it. It's just the facts, okay? Mercury in your fifth house of fun and games and kids. Your kids get more talkative. They talk about themselves. You might be saying they always do. Well, it's more so with Mercury in the fifth. You think about having fun and talk about it, and your fun has to involve communication. Mercury in the sixth house. You think about your work. There's a lot of communication involving job. There's communication at work, and you're focused on it because this is your conscious mind. That's terrific. Mercury in your seventh house of partnership, you're thinking about partnership. Now remember, the sun is probably right there with Mercury. So it's a double whammy, isn't it? Okay, Mercury in the seventh house. You want to get out there and talk to people. The people in your life want to talk to you about themselves. So if you will let them talk about themselves, and you will talk about them as well, they will love you for it. So you're putting your ideas into action with other people. Mercury in the eighth house of transformation. Your thinking is undergoing a change. You're a psychic detective. You're looking beneath the surface at what is really going on because this is the conscious mind. The eighth house is the astral plane. The eighth house is where we go when we sleep. And so there's lots of transformation on a mental level, on an intellectual level, on a deep level. Mercury in the ninth house. This is the house of philosophy. This is your big picture. With the sun and Mercury in your ninth house, which they probably are, certainly within a short time of each other, you're able to stand back, see the big picture, and look at life philosophically. You're not going to take things personally. You're going to laugh it off. This is really a cool place. I like the ninth house. Mercury in the 10th house. Let's see if I have some room here for it. Yeah. Mercury in the 10th house, you're thinking in terms of your public image in your career, and you are communicating. So with the sun and Mercury both in the 10th house, this is the time for you to move up. This is you in the top slot. This is you talking and thinking about moving up and being a leader who communicates. Really lovely. Mercury in the 11th house. Oh, wow. You think about your friends. You talk to your friends. You talk with your friends. You let them do the talking as well. There's lots of communication, possibly with groups. You'll want to be with more than one person. With seventh house activity, you want to be with one person. That's the one-on-one. With the 11th house, you want the groups because the 11th house is other people's children. Who are other people's children? Everyone on this planet. Don't you love it? Okay, and then Mercury in the 12th house. This is the subconscious. We don't really see what's going on. But what you'll feel is the desire to pull back and retreat and get your ducks in a row. And with the sun there as well, more than likely, you're going to find that you're just going to pull back. You may want to sleep more. Okay. Our next planet is Venus. It too moves with the sun and Mercury at the same speed. Well, Mercury and Venus move at about 1.5 degrees a day, and the sun moves at 1 degree a day. So they sort of speed up a little bit. Venus in your first house, you look wonderful. Venus is beauty. You feel pretty. You feel beautiful. This is the time to beautify yourself. Yes, get a haircut. Yes, change your wardrobe. It's just a time where you feel pretty, you love you with Venus in the first house. And when you love you, everybody loves you, don't they? Okay, Venus in the second house. You love your possessions. Venus is the lesser benefic. It brings blessings. You might be saying now, does it bring financial blessings? It sure can. And so, when you've got the Sun and Mercury and Venus in the house of money, I would get a lottery ticket, at least one, during that time period. Venus in the third house, you're seeing things through beautiful, loving eyes. Everything is beautiful to you with Venus in the third house. It's a great time to travel as well. I love it. Venus in your fourth house, you love staying home, you love your family, even the ones that you may not be getting along with that well. But if you have the Sun, Mercury, and Venus in your fourth house, this is definitely the time to move if you've been thinking about it. With Venus in your fifth house, Venus is what we love. You love to have fun. You love your kids. Do both. Base your social life around theirs, and it's a win-win. And it helps your social life. If there's nobody special in your life, you can meet somebody. Venus in your sixth house, you love your job, and your health should improve if you've had any problems. Your work should involve some form of beauty, but you're enjoying it. You're even enjoying going to the gym. Okay. Venus in the seventh house, you love being with other people. If you're married or if you have a strong, significant other, you feel great love for them. They feel love for themselves. You're both on the same page. Isn't that nice? Okay, Venus in your eighth house. Your whole love nature is undergoing a change. You love helping people with their money. And you love looking beneath the surface at what's really going on. Venus in your ninth house, you want to travel. Your whole outlook is loving and universal. It's quite beautiful. Venus in your 10th house, you are popular. Use it in your career. There it is. Because you have the Sun, Mercury, and Venus up there. It's time to move up. Venus in your 11th house, you love your friends. You love being a friend, and you love being a friend to the world. And last but not least, Venus in the 12th house, your concept of love is hard to express, but you love your solitude and privacy because Venus and Mercury and the Sun, Mercury, and Venus are all together. Now, when any of these planets sit on your ascendant, which is right here, this is the most personal point in the chart, that is when you really, really feel them. When they're up there at your midheaven, the top of the chart, that's when your career takes off. Now, I told you that I was going to talk a little bit about the moon. The moon, which rules function and form, it rules our moods. It moves about 12 degrees a day, which means that when it starts, let's just start it here in the first house. It will probably stay there for, maybe 2 days, and then boom, it's in the second house. And then a couple of days later, it's in your third house. And so what's going on here is your entire birth chart is triggered in 1 month by the moon. The moon rules function and form. And so when the moon is in any of these houses, it can be an emotional time because the moon does rule our emotions. And I'm not going to put the moon up there because we'd be covering the entire chart with the moon. You want to know where the moon is every day because the moon rules the public. It sets the tone for the day. You can tell what's going on in the world by where the moon is. The past couple of days, the moon has been in Aquarius, and Aquarius, as we know, is the humanitarian of the Zodiac. Aquarius says, I told you I loved you last week, I haven't changed my mind. Aquarius says what's good for the whole is good for the people in the whole. And so there may have been a very impersonal tone, those of you who feel the moon's transit. Now it's going to be going into dreamy, idealistic Pisces. And the world is going to be a little bit spacey, a little softer, a little gentler. Then after that, it slams into Aries and it hits the ground running. And most people will feel the energy of the moon. Some people do not. But when you feel the energy of the moon, see what it's doing in your chart. See what it's triggering in your chart. So just as a summary, because I've got more planets to share with you, the heavy planets. I wanted to go over the quick-moving planets. They are wonderful. The beauty of these planets moving so quickly is if, for example, they trigger something in your chart that doesn't feel good to you, or you have a problem, those planets are going to move off in a day or so. And so it's lovely to know where they are. And as I said, entire series, we'll be talking next time about Mars and Jupiter. Then we'll do Saturn, and some of you know how important the Saturn cycle is. And we'll talk about the 7-year Saturn cycle and the 28-year Saturn cycle. We'll also do Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And then I'll finish up by bringing the charts of 2 celebrities to the table and explain to you what's going on in their forecast for the coming year. Well, maybe we won't do the year. Maybe it's immediate because we still have some awards to give out. I will find somebody, 2 people that you know. I think on Astrology 101, I did Taylor Swift's chart. And what I may do is just pick up with that and share it with her. So, the sun, the center of your life. Mercury, what you think about and talk about. Venus, what you love. And the moon just racing through the entire zodiac. And when you read your sun sign astrology in some of the magazines, you'll find that sun sign astrology is very, very helpful to you. So, if you have any questions about these planets, as I go through them, please feel free to contact me. If you're an astrology student, you're probably saying, I wish you'd get on. Until next time,